The headlines of this hour on VTV News. Russian President begins state visit to Vietnam and aims to strengthen Vietnam-Russia bilateral ties. National Assembly convenes to discuss building a civilized, cultural and modern capital. And in our world news, more than 700 pilgrims die due to extreme heat.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It is currently 8 a.m. local time and you're tuning in to 30 minutes of VTV News. I'm Didin Lei with the latest updates. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin received a warm welcome at Nội Bài International Airport in Hanoi upon his arrival on June the 19th. He is on a state visit to Vietnam from June the 19th to the 20th at the invitation of the General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Nguyen Phu Trong. He was greeted at the airport by Lê Hoài Trung, Secretary of the party's Central Committee and head of its External Relations Commission. Trần Hồng Hà, member of the committee and Deputy Prime Minister, and Vietnamese Ambassador to Russia, Đặng Minh Khôi. President Putin's visit takes place on the 30th anniversary of the signing of the bilateral treaty on principles of friendly relations and the eve of the 75th anniversary of establishing diplomatic relations between the two countries. The official welcoming ceremony for Russian President Putin began at the Presidential Palace. As planned, Putin will hold talks and meetings with General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong and Vietnamese leaders to discuss directions to strengthen bilateral cooperation between Vietnam and the Russian Federation. On Thursday afternoon, after the welcoming ceremony for Russian President Vladimir Putin on a state visit to Vietnam, Party General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong held talks with Russian President at the party's Central Committee headquarters.
Party General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong, on behalf of the party, state and people of Vietnam, welcomed President Vladimir Putin, who has always had much affection and support for the Vietnamese people and the Vietnam-Russia relationship and who directly established the strategic partnership with the Vietnamese leaders, then the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, and has made many valuable contributions and support for the development of the traditional friendship. President Vladimir Putin was pleased to visit Vietnam and meet again with General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong, emphasizing that Vietnam is a friend and reliable partner of the Russian Federation. The relationship between the two countries has been tested over time. Developing a comprehensive strategic partnership with Vietnam is a priority in Russia's foreign policy in the Asia-Pacific region, believing that the visit will create new momentum in the relationship between the two countries. Sharing the opinions of General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong, President Putin emphasized that the settlement of international and regional issues must be based on international law, the United Nations Charter, and the peaceful settlement of disputes. The Russian president supports the peaceful settlement of the East Sea issue based on international law. The two leaders also agreed to promote cooperation in other important areas such as agriculture, education and training, culture, tourism, and people-to-people exchange. The two leaders highly appreciated the important contributions of the Vietnamese community in Russia, which is an important bridge for the relationship between the two countries. General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong suggested that Russia continue to create favorable conditions for the Vietnamese community in Russia to work and live stably and permanently in Russia, contributing to strengthening the traditional friendship between the people of the two countries.
On Thursday afternoon at the Presidential Palace, State President Tô Lâm held talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. State President Tô Lâm congratulated the Russian people on the important achievements under the leadership of President Putin and congratulated President Putin on gaining the high trust of the Russian people in the presidential election in March this year.
State President Tô Lâm affirmed that the Vietnamese people always appreciate the wholehearted support and assistance that the Russian people have given to Vietnam in many historical periods of the nation. implementing a foreign policy of independence, self-reliance, peace, friendship, and cooperation. Vietnam considers Russia one of its leading important partners, wishing to deepen the comprehensive strategic partnership between Vietnam and Russia. President Putin affirmed that Russia always attaches importance to the tradition of friendship and good multifaceted cooperation with Vietnam in its eastward foreign policy, promoting the positive developments in the bilateral cooperation in recent years, especially the achievements of 30 years of implementing the treaty on the basic principles of the Vietnam-Russia friendship, maintaining regular exchanges and contacts through party, government, and parliament channels. The two leaders were pleased with a good political relationship of mutual trust, creating momentum to promote bilateral cooperation. Immediately after the talks, State President Tô Lâm and President Putin witnessed the exchange of documents and cooperation agreements between the two sides' competent agencies.
President Vladimir Putin and I just had a very successful meeting. We had in-depth discussions on areas of bilateral cooperation as well as shared views on regional and international issues of mutual concern. In that spirit, we also agreed on major measures to further strengthen the comprehensive strategic partnership between Vietnam and Russia. The two sides agreed to strengthen relations on the basis of mutual trust, equality, mutual benefit, and non-interference in each other's internal affairs based on the fundamental principles of the United Nations Charter and international law. Not to ally or enter into agreements with third parties to take actions that harm each other's independence, sovereignty, territorial integrity, to support and actively contribute to peace and stability in the region and the world.
I would like to thank Party General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong, State President Tô Lâm, and the Vietnamese leaders for the warm, sincere, and thoughtful reception they have given me and my delegation. We adopted a joint statement that defines new directions for future cooperation between the two countries. And during this meeting, we also especially discussed key development directions. We touched on the most important issues on international and regional issues, and we also paid much attention to economic and trade cooperation.
Also on Thursday afternoon at the government office, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính met with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh was pleased to welcome Russian President Putin on his state visit to Vietnam and congratulated Russia's great achievements under President Putin's leadership. President Putin explained the deep impression left on him by Vietnam's achievements in socio-economic development, foreign affairs, and international integration. In order to promote economic cooperation as an important pillar of the comprehensive strategic partnership, the two leaders agreed to improve the effectiveness of bilateral cooperation mechanisms, especially the Intergovernmental Committee on Economic Trade and Scientific Technological Cooperation. They also agreed to implement the Master Plan for the Development of Vietnam-Russia Cooperation to 2030, strengthen financial credit cooperation in accordance with international law and the legal regulations of the two countries to facilitate trade and investment between the two countries, striving to increase two-way trade turnover to $15 billion in the coming years. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh emphasized that the two sides need to make the most of the advantages of the Vietnam-Eurasian Economic Union Free Trade Agreement. Regarding investment, President Putin supported Vietnam's proposal to soon implement a number of large-scale projects on infrastructure, railways, subways, and renewable energy in Vietnam. The sentiment of the meeting was based on friendship, trust, and mutual understanding. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh expressed his belief that the two sides will continue to coordinate closely, creating new momentum for the historic friendship and multifaceted cooperation, contributing to deepening the Vietnam-Russia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership.
On Thursday afternoon, National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn met with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn warmly welcomed Russian President Vladimir Putin and the high-ranking delegation on their state visit to Vietnam, emphasizing that the leaders of the party, state, and peoples of Vietnam attach great importance to the traditional friendship and comprehensive strategic partnership with Russia, remembering the wholehearted support and assistance that the people of the former Soviet Union and the Russian Federation today have given to Vietnam. Regarding inter-parliamentary cooperation, National Assembly Chairman Chen Teng-min affirmed that this is one of the important pillars of the friendly cooperation between Vietnam and the Russian Federation and has been continuously consolidated and developed well. The Vietnamese National Assembly has signed a cooperation agreement with the Federation Council of the Russian Federation and the State Duma of the Russian Federation. The two sides are discussing to re-sign this agreement this year, which will include Pacific cooperation content. Russian President Putin congratulated National Assembly Chairman Chen Teng-min on his positions as Chairman of the National Assembly of Vietnam, agreeing with the assessment of the relationship between the two countries and the relationship between the legislative bodies. President Putin hoped that the Vietnamese National Assembly will ratify and promote the implementation of bilateral activities, affirming that the priority direction of the Russian Federation is to promote relations with ASEAN to create space for development.
Also on Thursday afternoon at the Hanoi Opera House, State President Tô Lâm and Russian President Vladimir Putin, along with many high-ranking leaders of both sides, met with leaders of the Vietnam-Russia Friendship Association and generations of former Vietnamese students studying in Russia.
The meeting took place in a warm, friendly atmosphere with the participation of nearly 400 former Vietnamese students who studied in Russia. President Putin expressed his pleasure to attend the meeting with State President Tô Lâm and highly appreciated the contributions to the bilateral relationship of generations of Vietnamese students studying in Russia.
Currently, there are more than 3,000 Vietnamese students studying in the Russian Federation. We hope that this number will increase and we will continue to promote the traditional friendship between the two countries and bring more success to the Russian Federation and Vietnam.
During the exchange, the alumni shared their feelings for Russia. Many of them had studied, lived and worked in Russia when they were young, considering Russia as their second home. State President Tô Lâm emphasized that although the two countries are miles apart, Vietnamese people still care about and are happy with Russia's achievements and development, and always wish Russia prosperity, overcoming all difficulties and challenges.
Russian proverbs say, all wealth cannot compare with friendship, an old friend is better than two new ones. Vietnam and the Russian Federation will continue to promote the tradition of solidarity and mutual trust, continue to stand side by side, help each other overcome difficulties and challenges for the benefit of the people of the two countries.
After the meeting, the two leaders attended an art program to welcome the Russian president on his state visit to Vietnam.
State President Tô Lâm held a reception ceremony to welcome Russian President Vladimir Putin's state visit at the presidential palace in Hanoi on Thursday. At the reception, State President Tô Lâm expressed his deep admiration of Russia with its majestic nature, heroic history, and rich culture. He admired the heroic people of Russia, who are kind, loyal, and spirited in the fight for human progress. According to State President Tô Lâm, President Putin's visit clearly demonstrates President Putin's personal interest in and support for Vietnam. He expressed confidence in a bright future for Vietnam-Russia relations, affirming that Vietnam sincerely congratulates Russia on its important development achievements under the president's steadfast leadership. He believed that with the determination of the Russian leader and the efforts of the Russian people, Russia will move forward and develop strongly. Coming up next on VTV News. National Assembly convenes to discuss building a civilized, cultural and modern capital. And later on, Sway dance promoted Indian people's contemporary life. Welcome back to VTV News Live. The National Assembly on Thursday morning discussed the Hanoi Capital plan for the 2021 to 2030 period with a vision to 2050 and the project to amend the master plan of Hanoi until 2045 with a vision to 2065. More to follow.
Affirming the importance of the two planning tasks, National Assembly deputies suggest for further evaluation of the results of planning implementation in previous stages to have a basis for the current and future stages.
We need to clarify factors and specific conditions that affect the capital's development. Furthermore, I suggest clarifying further the results achieved in socioeconomic development, land use, urban and rural system development compared to the initial goals and targets.
Deputies also proposed solutions to current pressing urban issues, aiming to build a civilized, cultured, and modern capital.
The city's replanning need to consider having wider roads, more escape routes in case of fire or explosion, and eventually eliminate tube houses in Hanoi. There should be larger hospitals with good road systems.
There should be greater investment in a system to collect wastewater and build centralized wastewater treatment area. We must immediately start building two spillways on the Red River and the Duong River to prevent drought.
Some delegates also proposed to carefully review the contents of the project, especially with the draft law on urban and rural planning currently under consideration by the National Assembly. Also on the same morning, NA deputies urged the implementation of the land law, the housing law, the real estate business law, and the law on credit institutions. However, these laws must not create legal gaps, conflicts, and overlaps. This is an opportunity to remove difficulties, completely handle backlogs, and start a new vision for the land management field.
A meeting was held on Thursday to celebrate the 99th anniversary of Vietnam Revolutionary Press Day and launched the new interface of the Political Theory electronic magazine. At the event, Politburo member Nguyen Phu Trong, director of the Ho Chi Minh National Academy of Politics and chair of the Central Theoretical Council, affirmed the significant contributions of the press to the cause of national construction and defense. He urged the Ho Chi Minh National Academy of Politics' press system to continue innovating and actively participate in summarizing the 40 years of renovation and drafting documents for the 14th National Party Congress. Additionally, he emphasized the importance of investing in and developing the Academy of Journalism and Communication to become a key national training institution in the industry. According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, export turnover in the past 6 months is estimated at nearly $189 billion, or up 13.8% over the same period last year. The main exporters are the processing and manufacturing industries, with many product groups growing rapidly. Industrial production in the first half of this year continued to flourish, with the Industrial Production Index estimated to increase by more than 7% over the same period last year. Agricultural products also remained a bright spot in the export growth stakes, increasing by nearly 19% over the same period. Vietnam's export markets, notably the US, China, and South Korea, have recovered. Sway dancing is an art genre of ethnic Thais, which has received a UNESCO certification as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. In the northern province of Dien Bien, home to a large community of Thais, the art of sway dance is being preserved via village-based troupes. The model has created a playground for people to gather, have fun, and ultimately pass down their knowledge in order to promote the sway dance in contemporary life.
When you dance with a bill scarf in your hands, you should always look at it.
Bak Thi Mi used to be a member of professional art troupe when she was young. She has a great love for sway dance. Since her village established its own dance troupe in 2020, she has never missed any weekend activities, which take place at the village culture house.
Sway dance is deeply rooted in our culture. When the local authorities set up this troupe, it allowed us to better preserve the art genre. At the age of 82, I feel very proud to be a member of the dance group.
Currently, the Chiang Quang village Sway troupe has 40 members. Every weekend, young women in the village have a chance to learn about the origin and meaning of traditional dances directly from veteran artisans.
We can improve our knowledge by joining the troupe. The most joyous thing is I have learned so many dances from other moms and sisters. Now I know how to dance with scarves, bamboo fans, drums, and the solidarity dance.
Điện Biên province now has more than 1,200 art troupes across its hamlets and villages. Particularly, the Thai Sway dance practices have proved effective in meeting the needs for people to experience cultural activities.
Many elderly people are passionate about teaching younger generations about Sway dance. Teaching and practicing Sway dance has become a regular cultural activity at local Thai villages here.
The happy moments that these people share while joining hands in the Sway dance is expected to further motivate the preservation and development of the art among the communities in Điện Biên.
The Sea Festival, entitled Hoan Summer Emotions 2024, is being held in Hoi An City of the central province of Quảng Nam. This year's Hoan Sea Festival stands out for its blend of island culture and traditional cultural heritage. It offers numerous attractive activities held at the beach's Cham Island. Many other activities related to music, cuisine, sports events, and weekly music exchange performances by street bands and acoustic clubs are also held at Godai Beach. The annual festival is aimed to respond to the stimulus program to attract tourists to Quảng Nam in 2024. It will also contribute to presenting and promoting the strength of sea and island tourism resources, while also focusing on developing Hoi An as a green tourism destination. Coming up next in our world news, more than 900 pilgrims die due to extreme heat. And later on, Cambodia celebrates 47th anniversary of victory over Khmer Rouge. Now moving on to our world news, more than 900 people have died in hot weather conditions during this year's Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, while thousands have been reported missing. At least 600 Egyptians were among the pilgrims who died. The number of people missing during this year's pilgrimage is said to be alarming. The city of Mecca, Islam's holiest city, has recorded very high temperatures, with one day reaching 51.8 degrees Celsius. The Hajj pilgrimage lasts for several days, with activities mainly held outdoors, while many pilgrims are elderly and infirm. Cambodia on Thursday, under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Hun Manet, solemnly celebrated the 47th anniversary of victory over Pol Pot genocide, June the 20th, 1977 to June the 20th, 2024. Attending the ceremony were representatives of the Ministry of National Defense, the Ministry of Public Security, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the authorities of several Vietnamese localities bordering Cambodia. Speaking at the ceremony, Prime Minister Hun Manet expressed his deep gratitude for the great sacrifices of Vietnamese volunteer soldiers and experts for the survival of the country and people of Cambodia. The journey to overthrow the Pol Pot genocidal regime is a vivid historical testament, affirming the spirit of international solidarity as well as the special friendship between the Vietnamese and Cambodian people. The World Shipping Council on Wednesday called for urgent action to stop Houthis' attack on commercial vessels in the Red Sea after another vessel was sunk the previous week. The world's leading maritime organizations have condemned the Houthis' attacks, calling on influential countries in the region to protect sailors and de-escalate tensions in the Red Sea. Earlier in the day, rescuers confirmed that the Greek-owned Tudor coal carrier, which was attacked by Houthi forces in the Red Sea in the previous week, had sunk. The ship was attacked with missiles and remote-controlled boat loaded with explosives. That is the second ship to be sunk since Houthi forces launched attacks on ships in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden since November 2023. Robots are becoming more and more popular in everyday life, from robots assisting in production lines to robots cooking, painting, and even performing surgery. So what other wonders might emerge from this technology? We explore a collaborative robot development center in Denmark in the following report.
Robots used for package picking, lifting, and carrying. They now share home, which is a 20,000 square meter collaborative robotics center located 115 kilometers west of Copenhagen, Denmark. Two robotics companies have created this massive facility to collaborate and bring about new breakthroughs in the development of cobots. These are robots designed to work safely alongside humans.
So how are those industries automating their businesses as well? So we're seeing the need for automation in pretty much every industry out there.
More than ever, AI is creating breakthroughs in the robotics industry.
AI is really becoming a superpower, both to make the robot easier to program, but also to give them that sort of problem-solving capabilities and flexibilities that is sort of associated with human intelligence.
According to a recent report, Denmark's robotics, automation, and drone industry grew by 9% last year, with around 18,500 people now working in the sector. There are now nearly 600 robotics, automation, and drone companies in Denmark, generating $3.9 billion in revenue by 2022.
Up next, let's have a look at the weather forecast. And that is all that we have this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can visit our website or our YouTube channel, or download our mobile app VTVgo for more. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.